As expressed in declaration on the South African Communist Party, the letter of the ANC Veterans League rebuffing the senseless rant of Comrade Zuma and his purporting to respond to the President Ramaphosa's message to members of the African National Congress, call of the South African Council of Churches, and deep concern raised by the foundations of the former leader and stalwarts of ANC. We want to express our affirmation of the letter of the President Cyril Ramaphosa to the ANC members. We must also state our deep appreciation of its approval and support of its core message, principles, recommendations, and conclusion by the ANC entire National Executive Committee. However, we must also point out that we are shocked and disturbed that instead of witnessing actions supporting the spirit of the decision of the ANC-NEC regarding that letter, we see no movement, except a clear indication of defiance by those leaders who have to lead by example. We must state in here that reported utterances by Comrade Bongo that he is still awaiting communication from ANC leadership regarding his need to step aside whilst facing a criminal charge for bribery are, in our understanding, meant to defeat the cause of renewing the African National Congress. Further, we must express that we find the reported response by Comrade Andile Lungisa to the Nelson Mandela Bay Regional Task Team that the NEC decision does not refer to his situation as either a poor understanding of the African National Congress communications processes and issues of ethical leadership. It is because, as a public representative of the ANC, he holds a leadership position. We fail to understand why Comrade Zandile Gumede, who is facing charges of corruption and was meant to step aside from the KZN legislature, is still part of that institution after more than a week of the NEC's pronounced itself that all leaders and public representatives who faces criminal charges must step aside to assist the African National Congress in cleaning itself. We are disappointed and most unpleasantly surprised that Comrade Denim Caesar and Comrade Florence Razilani are reported to be back at work, even though the ANC Integrity Commission made a finding on them. While the courts cleared them, the Integrity Commission has not done so. As an institution tasked with the upkeep of the African National Congress values, we believe it is to be given that priority to re-look into their case before they were reinstated in their leadership position. These revelations of seemingly consistent two-sided nature of the African National Congress conduct on the leadership decision of the ANC is to us profoundly concerning and needs definite action to correct. It is indeed the ANC, if indeed the ANC must and is committed to the project of renewing itself to win back the confidence of the people of South Africa. We are after almost four years of struggling for our unity as the community of MK veterans. In this effort, we are armed with the 54th National Conference resolutions that instruct the ANC, NEC to expedite our unity. In this regard, the African National Congress, NEC, gave that responsibility to the NEC Subcommittee Peace and Stability, led by Comrade Tony Ngeni, to facilitate our unity. So far, Comrade Tony Ngeni has proven himself either incapable of leading that project or deliberately flip-flopping it because of his partiality. For instance, he has found himself addressing an RET gathering is to get views, however best to resolve the crisis, is to get views that however to resolve the crisis the movement is facing itself, and is testing our opinion on how best to save the movement. The ANC, which is threatening to die in our hands if serious interventions for its redemptions are not urgently formulated and implemented. It is our strong considered view that the ANC belongs to the people and not only to its members. Therefore, whether it dies or survives, it is in the final analysis residing in the people's ANC and in their entirety. We see the undivided focus on this program unfolding as perhaps the most critical important in saving the ANC, which every day this day brings it closer to its inglorious death or emphatic rebirth, of which only the people of South Africa, in their majority, will be the ultimate arbiter. Thank you.
Good morning. Comrade Greg has just read the statement of the MK National Council. Perhaps we'll take a few hands, but before then, we should announce the names of the comrades, the leadership of council which is here. On my far right is Comrade Johnny Mushala. He's a member of the NEC of National Council. Just behind him, social distancing, is Comrade Thabo Makwetla, the Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, and the former, elected Secretary General of MK National Council. You've got Comrade Nombeko Williams. Nombeko Daniels. Williams Daniels. Nombeko Daniels. She's also a member of the NEC of the MK National Council. You've got Comrade Dan Hato, also a member of the NEC. We've got Comrade Thandi Dieta, a member of the NEC of the National Council. We've got Comrade Ray, the chairperson of MK National Council in Gauteng. We've got Comrade Thandi Mashwala, the member of the NEC also. We'll then proceed to take questions. Any questions from people who are here? Yes, please. You'll stand up and say your name and ask your question. Thank you.
Okay, hello, my name is Rowan Nichols. I'm from ANC.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Is there anything that was written in the letter by the former president that the council believes is worth engaging and that the president should respond to? What is the council's view on the president's decision not to respond publicly to the letter, which is in the public domain? Then we've had comments by the former Secretary General of the ANC and former President Helena Motlanthe, who has claimed that at the 2012 Mangaung conference, a clause in the ANC constitution stated that anyone who is found to be raising money internally for internal election campaigns should be subjected to a disciplinary hearing. And the former Secretary of the ANC goes further to say that after the Mangaung conference, that clause disappeared from the constitution, and he asks what happens to that. As the council, are you aware of this? What is your response to this?
Thank you. Senator Times has asked 3 questions effectively. Comrade Milo, do you have anything from the Zoom?
Yes, there's a question. One person wants to raise a question. I'll ask them to do so.
Not yet.
Not yet. Then perhaps we could answer the 3 questions in the meantime. Comrade Tabang, Comrade Nombeko. Are we ready to take any of the 3 questions? Comrade Black?
You must start first.
Okay.
Your first question was on the anything interesting in which of the 2 letters? The letter of...
Is there anything worth engaging in the letter from the former president to the letter to the ANC president?
Well, I think that was properly answered, that the president of the African National Congress now, in his letter, he was talking to the entire membership of the ANC in terms of conducting themselves in the manner befitting the African National Congress constitutional requirement as well as conference resolution, and calling upon all of us to ensure that we uphold those principles and be those members expected. As to whether it is worth engaging the letters or the letter that was written by the former president or any other person for that matter, it is a matter that the NEC was supposed to look into it, and I think they also have expressed themselves to say the letter that hold is of a president that we are talking about. Safe to say, there would be no need for anyone to respond in the manner that will demean or undermine a clarion call made by the president to the entire membership of the African National Congress. The second question that you asked has to do with what Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe raised in relation to the disappearance of what is in the constitution of the, what should have been in the constitution of the ANC. What is in the constitution of the ANC, it is what is guiding us today. And whether or not a matter of a written clause that has disappeared, that it's a matter that must be addressed at the level of the structures of the ANC. And we went to a conference in Nasrec. And that conference had the authority and the power to look into what should go into the constitution of the ANC. That conference took a decision along what we have just raised, how a member of the ANC must conduct himself. Now, you are talking in relation to people who raised funds in relation to gaining leadership within the structures of the organization. It is one of the things we are addressing here. That anybody who acts outside the principles of the ANC has got structures to address those things. And I think, to be specific, the issue has been made kind of a hot cake, and the president of the ANC has declared to go and face the Integrity Commission. I think the answers that you want will come out of what the Integrity Commission will come out with. I didn't get your third question. Thank you. Is there? Oh, sure.
Any other questions? Any questions from the Zoom? Yeah.
The question is that it's from Zinima Dia. She's asking if concerns have been raised regarding Tony Yengeli. Have you spoken to him, Tony Yengeli? What do you think changed from when he was with them as an MK council in the lead up to 2017?
Yeah. Another question?
And now. That's the only one.
Any?
I have another question.
Another question, okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your indulgence. I appreciate it.
It's fine, it's fine.
It's Govan again. You've raised a serious issue by saying that on your reading of the situation, there are two ANCs within the one movement, and you've gone further to say, to insinuate that the one ANC is protecting corruption while the other one is trying to adhere to the values of the ANC. My question is, as the MK Veterans National Council, what do you propose should be done to remedy the situation of two ANCs? Do you think that there's a need for one ANC to leave the party?
That's another question. Any other question? Perhaps, Comrade Greg, I should try and answer this question of two ANCs. Indeed, from our own analysis and just looking at the situation the way it has been unfolding, one is compelled to think that there are two ANCs. It cannot be that the president, writes such a strong letter, very passionate, in terms of calling the ANC to look into itself. And then the next moment, you find that everything that the NEC has agreed on, and the officials, have presented it together, as a show of unity. There were no barriers as far as that understanding is concerned. Then you still find comrades who can boldly stand up and say that we are part of such meetings, in fact. Boldly stand up and say that I haven't received a letter, an instruction from the ANC to step back. Or the other one, saying that the decision is unconstitutional. We feel that those comrades are emboldened because they feel that they have some, a semblance of support from someone within the ANC. And that is the ANC we are talking of. And we must be very clear here that these comrades were emboldened to do wrong things, feeling that they've got support within the ANC. It is time that they must prepare themselves to stand aside, perhaps find themselves another ANC outside this ANC that we wish, to be ethical. So indeed, I think as much as the ANC, in the ANC we believe in, consultations, in pleading with people, cajoling them to do the right things. But if they cannot do the right things and they want to perpetuate the wrong things, they must leave the ANC. Hence we are saying that the final arbiters on this issue is the people of South Africa. Thank you.
The question that came from CD that asked whether did we consult with Comrade Tony on what she refers to our concern, and as well as Comrade Tony as a member or a former member of the council. The answer to the first question would be yes. We have raised our concern in formal sittings of the joint structure where MKMVA and MK Council meet. So we've told him. Not once, not twice, but formally so. The second question that deals with Comrade Tony to have been a member of the council, that too must be answered by saying the council's life has been to get the life of MK to be what it should be. That nucleus of the People's Army that must filtrate into the structures of the African National Congress and add life based on the knowledge that we have acquired. we have shared that aspiration with Comrade Tony. That the asset and the welfare of cadres of MK, as well as the political know-how, the security know-how, as well as the intelligence know-how, which is the property the ANC needs. We have shared that aspiration with Comrade Tony. In fact, he was very strong in making sure, once he was a council member, that we get rid of all the wrong things that are happening in MK. We were expecting that Comrade Tony would give us that leadership based on the knowledge that we know, that he holds the aspiration that the council holds. We are perplexed and shocked by his kind of leadership, and I should also call it a betrayal to the cause he himself started. I think that answers that question.
A follow-up.
A follow-up?
See, this is, does the MK Council not think that it also failed? When they came together, they wanted to agitate change in the ANC and help the movement to unite. But today, we still speak of two ANCs. It remains fractured.
In the revolution, you don't fail, you suffer setbacks. And there is no revolution that does not get infiltrated. So the fact that we could allude to that fractured ANC that we see today should not be taken away from that kind of infiltration that we're talking about. Now, as MK Council, our strength lies with members of MK because they were properly, we know they're properly trained and they have the ability to can add value in making sure that the ANC redeem itself. However, as a result of the kind of scramble that we're talking about, the space for which we must occupy, it's just not immediately available. And that does not mean a failure. It means we must ensure that we occupy the space. We are now saying, with the statement that we have made, we recognize the ability of our cadres and we call upon them to understand that the ANC is suffering and we must make sure that we don't let the ANC to go to the doldrum of history. That's what we're saying. And uniting the structures of MK, it is equally a task the ANC's conference has instructed, and that unity, it is nothing else but to ensure that that structure plays its role as a structure prepared by the revolution, serving the interest of the ANC and the people of this country. So, a failure, no. A mountain to climb, we are ready to do so. Yes.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have some more questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If there aren't questions, it means our statement was clear.
Thank you so much. It's
Okay.
on the point that you've made. I mean, if they can't subscribe to the values of the ANC, they must find another ANC. We've got an ANC president who said that he would rather be known as a weak president than a president who has split the movement. And you're currently in the middle of a campaign for unity. And I'd like you to just take me through your thinking when you say they should find another ANC. Are you not sowing disunity there? And then on the matter of the late great human rights lawyer, Advocate George Bezos, if we could just get some comment from the Veterans Council about what role do you think he played in preparing or in facilitating the ANC's ability to continue its fight against apartheid and then eventually get into government.
Commenter, do you want to deal with the business one before we deal with the 2 years? Just numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you can go ahead.
Nothing. Oh, okay. No, the issue of the 2 years, you see, we cannot sue for unity forever with the people who do not want to see the ANC united. We are also saying that we are going to meet the entire, range of ANC leadership in this country. The mass democratic movement, the social partners. Finally, they will decide what should happen to the ANC. If they say any one of us must leave the ANC, we'll leave the ANC for the ANC to can breathe. If there are those who feel that they cannot submit and subject themselves, to the values and principles of the ANC, to the discipline of the ANC, indeed they must go, and that is not fracturing the ANC. It simply means that you have never been part of the ANC. You just found yourself in the ANC for some strange reasons, but you've never subjected and submitted yourself to its values and traditions. Then perhaps we should go and have another ANC that would, embrace those values which are anti-people. We believe that corruption is anti-people. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me just add to the question that Comrade Ike was responding to about the so-called syndrome of two ANCs by making the point that, as we all know, the ANC is an institution with very clear policies, with a very clear mission and vision. And it is expected that any and all South Africans who come into the ANC would serve to promote what the institution, the ANC, stands for. Of course, now and again, it will happen that within those who have joined the ANC, you find people who are not in sync with the institution's values and what the institution stands for. And of course, the ANC has a regime through which such a problem should on a continuous basis be managed and eliminated. So those who are not ANC members in good standing, and I'm talking politically, the regime within the ANC that governs conduct, that governs discipline, that speaks to what the ANC stands for, as it is clearly elaborated in the oath that ANC members stands, must help to eject elements that are not compliant with what the institution stands for. And when that happens, it is simply the ANC cleansing itself. It is not the one ANC leaving and another ANC remaining. I don't know if I am making my point clear to say the ANC is an institution. There may be differences within ANC members, within its community, but the institution will remain a monolithic establishment. And those who are not compliant with what the ANC stands for, of course, it is also for their own good to leave the organization. And when that happens, it is not the ANC, splitting, but it is the ANC cleansing itself. With respect to the question you raised around Advocate Bizos' demise, all South Africans today are very sad to have woken up to the news of the of the passing on of Advocate George Bizos. In many countries where liberation struggles or popular causes, let me put it that way, have moved people to stand up and do good, the legal space, the legal front has always been a very critical, enabling tool to facilitate the success of these popular causes that now and again in countries people get organized around. In our country's war or struggle for democracy, for liberation, for freedom, there are a number of outstanding legal minds that have used their talents in order to assist the effort to achieve democracy at very critical moments. And the Advocate George Bizos will forever be remembered for that outstanding role that he played as a legal mind, a lawyer who sought at all times, even under those unjust laws that made objection and resistance to apartheid difficult, who worked very hard to create space for this popular protest movement to grow and to challenge apartheid successfully. And of course, he could only do so because he himself, in his own makeup, was a person who found the cause for freedom very much appealing to his own life. So his contribution is what we will be hearing more about in the coming days, I believe. The many stories of how he came in at the very decisive moment to turn things around in favor of the struggle against apartheid. Thank you very much.
Perhaps we'll take 2 more questions and then we adjourn. Any other questions? Nothing on Zoom?
On Facebook, is no questions, it's just comments.
Comments, okay. Now, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So, Lulum Guni wants to ask a question.
We also have time constraints. Thank you very much, comrades. We have to social distance. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having attended our media briefing. Thank you.